With it being the Hostry Festival's 10th anniversary, we wanted to hear from people who've taken interest in the Autumn Festival of Norfolk. What it is and was that makes them give of their time, their commitment, and their trust in us to deliver what we set out to do each year. This profile is in a way a harvest of those stories.
Being the co-founder and executive producer of the festival, I take the progress of it all somewhat for granted now. It's like Christmas. It comes around every year. How can you not do Christmas?
Being artistic director of the Hostry Festival for the last 10 years has been extraordinarily satisfying. Somebody asked me the other day, one of the patrons, Mike King, who happens to be one of my oldest friends as well, he said, what's the residing feeling or emotion you have about these first 10 years? And for me, it's exhausting but satisfying. And able to call the shots with the PB aspect of the SK, the PB-SK partnership, that's Peter Barrow and Stash Kirkbride, and the simplicity of it basically being us and Peter Beck and Rebecca Chapman and others who were there at the beginning, who encouraged us, helped us, and supported us, has meant that Peter and I have been able to keep it very simple and to cash in on our friendship, which importantly started 25 years ago plus, when we were both, struggling actors in London. And so therefore we had that background of knowing each other, having lived together in various digs in London and all that, and becoming inseparable friends. So we had all that before we began an arts project.
Peter Beck, who was one of the original founders of the whole festival, he had an idea, it would be a good idea to celebrate just the arts in Norfolk, because Norfolk and everywhere seems to have arts awards ceremonies for everything. My favorite is the British Potato Council Awards for I don't know, the best potato? I don't know.
So in 2011, we started talking about the Norfolk Arts Awards, and the conversation we'd had wasn't there so many arts awards to do with estate agents and accountants and food and drink awards and such like, but there was nothing for the arts scene in Norwich and Norfolk. And wouldn't it be great to celebrate artists, venues, arts organisations, etc.? And so we set about, working out what the categories would be, how people would get nominated, really about how we would celebrate people in the local art scene. So we could say, your work is fantastic. Look at the amount of people that your work touches. And also for people to be able to use, their nomination or their arts awards as a way of helping to get grants or helping to bring attention to their work, or they could use on social media, etc. So the intention was always about, I suppose, celebrating people at all stages of their career, the big organisations, but also the individuals who, might be an artist working on their own, celebrating the arts across Norfolk, so Norfolk right through to Norwich and then, down to South Norfolk. And one interesting thing has been that the ceremony itself actually brings people together. I remember we had a conversation with Peter Wilson from the Theatre Royal, who was their general manager at the time. And he said, there are very few opportunities for people in the local art scene to come together and celebrate and socialise and mix. So, that was a fantastic byproduct of creating the Norfolk Arts Awards.
And the winner of the Best Small-Scale Project is, for 2019, Rosie's Blacks.
My goodness, how did this happen? We're all desperate for for a wee, and it's pretty much impossible. There are 300 heritage plaques in Norwich, and only 25 of them recognise the achievements of real women. Rosie's Plaques was a guerrilla art project to redress that and raise awareness of that. It was an art project, but it was also a call to arms. Thank you very much.
What you have to go through to find out how to do something like this. And how did they decide the Oscars? I don't know. We had to decide how to decide. And what do you count as the arts? Because there's the spread of what you could count as arts is like that.
I think one thing we've always been conscious of with the Arts Awards is to be as open as possible and as far-reaching as possible. So the awards ceremony itself has started to go on the road. For many years it was in the Hostry building, but it started to go on the road into, it was at St George's Theatre in Great Yarmouth, and there are plans afoot in the future to take it to other venues across the county. And that makes artists who are not working in Norwich feel more part of that art scene. We are a rural county, and so it's really important that everyone feels included in the offer.
So the Norfolk Arts Awards are a really special and fabulous highlight of Norfolk's cultural calendar, and also through the People's Choice Awards, which are delivered in collaboration with the EDP, it allows Norfolk people to tell us the organisations and artists who make a special difference in their lives, but also in the cultural life of the county. And the Norfolk Arts Awards allow that recognition for everybody, and I think that's extremely special.
To me, though, the award goes to Norwich and Norfolk because I moved here 25 years ago, and it has been an absolute pleasure living in this county. In the one hand, I came out to Norfolk, and I also came out in Norfolk. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of a number of organisations like Norwich Pride, like Paint Out, like the Human Library, like the Arts Centre and the things we're doing with the Respectful Conversations now. But it is just, what I often hear in Norfolk is that nearly everybody is an artist. And in many ways, everybody is a creative here. And this goes to all of Norwich and Norfolk.
10 years of the Hostry Festival, who could believe it? Who could believe from that little acorn of an idea 10 years ago, it's grown into this sturdy oak of artistic achievement and excellence.
The summer breeze of mixed emotions paralyze you like a potion. Now you're hanging on for life. Are we getting any closer? I catch your eye, but you said no, sir. I ain't coming out to play. But you and I ain't getting any younger. Roll the dice, come roll the thunder. I'll take your hand now, we'll find me.
Every year at the Norfolk Arts Awards, we invite different Norfolk artists to perform there, and these have included the Vagaband, Jess Morgan, Holly Lursky, and this year the African Choir of Norfolk. And one of the standout moments for me was the Hayley Moyses Bluegrass Forum with our very own patron and very special friend of mine, Mike King on dobro.
Mike King on dobro.
We played as part of Hayley Moyses in the Bluegrass 4. And we did, I think 3 or 4 performances there over the years, which have been amazing.
I think at the moment when times are very difficult and very hard, the venues are becoming more and more important, aren't they? If you create the right atmosphere and people feel comfortable and at home, then they come.
Yeah, and a really beautiful, imaginative venue. It can pull all the art forms out of themselves a bit. everything changes a bit. Things a bit special happen. We certainly found that playing the music here 2 weeks ago, that you've got to recognise the sensitivity of the building, the beautiful acoustic. You can't go banging away there as a musician, and that's great. That's a really good thing. Better stuff happens, I think.
It's no distance between hearts. It's no distance from where we are.
Well, it's been a marvellous opportunity for me to work with the Hostry Festival, not only because I really believe in it, but also because it's given me a chance to show off. Many years ago, probably about 100 years now, I trained as a singer, and I used to sing jazz. And the amazing Simon Brown, who is just unbelievable player, jazz player, played for me at the Hostry Festival, and I was able to sing a number with him. Probably not great for him, I'm not being modest here, but I mean, he is a proper jazz person, but I just love to do it. So we got together, I sang a number, and what was great was that people didn't know I could sing. Whether they were any better after I did it, I don't know. But no, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to do something that I've never done.
I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything but love. Be-do-be-do-do-be-dum-dum-ba-dum.
Huge congratulations must go, of course, to Peter Barrow, who started this whole thing up, largely because he just wanted to be in some plays and couldn't find anyone to employ him. And I can understand that because I've seen him. And 10 years ago, he played a 90-year-old, and this year he's playing a 300-year-old count. And I did say count.
Silk stockings.
Skin colour. Aren't they lovely? It's too dark in here now, but... No, you must only look at the feet. Well, you can look a little higher too.
And in fact, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I've never been able to get away because it's just always something so exciting, always something new happening. It's like been a really interesting adventure, and seeing performances which are just so amazing that you suddenly go, how did they do that?
I'm very proud of the fact that we've commissioned so much, over 100 commissions from Norfolk, engaging with Norfolk artists in Norfolk for 10 years. That's one of the things I think we do very well. I think that's why people engage with us very quickly. But I've got my beady eye and antennae out for people who behave nicely all the time. And if someone's handing out a program for us, I've absolutely got my pulse on them, to who they are, to how they're behaving. So for me, it's as important. It's not in a kind of scary way, but it is very acutely there for me. It's a finely tuned instrument to find talent. I cast Tracy Catchpole, who played the lead for us 3 years ago in The Eagle Has Two Heads, which was a play I did 25 years ago in London, disastrously. It began and ended my career. But within one evening of meeting her at the Madam Market Theatre with Peter Barrow, we decided that we would do The Eagle Has Two Heads again a quarter of a century later because of meeting her. Because you cannot buy or make an inherent talent. You cannot. It is just there. Drama school? No, it's irrelevant. People have inherent talent. I would rather work, it turns out she'd been acting for 35 years anyway, but I would rather work with somebody who hasn't acted before or who is an amateur or whatever these titles are than I would somebody who is too set in their ways.
Be sick.
Not on my rug. In your skirt.
It's my favorite.
It's horrible. It doesn't suit you.
It's all right.
No fashion sense of dress never had.
He said that I have a
No more him.
The room's going over and over and over.
No. It's the little muscles in your eyes. You got to relax the little muscles in the corner of your eyes and let your eyes go up. They just want to drift up, so just let them. They get stuck up there.
So the first thing we actually did together was Night of the Iguana, where I had the small part of the German father. And wonderful production, brilliantly led by Peter Beck and Rebecca Chapman. And Stash directed it. And it was a great opportunity. And also lots of young actors. We had 3 young girls playing my daughters on different nights. And some of them had acted before, some of them hadn't, and they've all gone to have wonderful careers in various different areas. So they've been brought into the fold and worked in the Hostry over the years as volunteers. And it was a wonderful springboard, because actually that production was pre-festival. It wasn't until the year later that the actual festival was formed, but it kind of created it.
Youth must be foolish.
What is your age? How old?
He is 97 years young.
How old?
97. Almost a century young.
Youth must be foolish and mirthful and blind. Gaze not before and glance not behind. Mark not.
Mark not the shadow that darkens the way.
Regret not the glitter of any lost day, but laugh with no reason except the red wine. For youth must be youthful and foolish and blind.
To actually put on something that isn't obviously popular, if you like, something that people will say, oh yes, I know that, to actually take a chance and put something on. For example, there was the Eagle with Two Heads by Jean Cocteau. I hope I got that right. This makes me sound very posh. And I saw this and I thought, I can't believe that anybody necessarily is going to want to go and see this, including myself, because it sounded a little bit highbrow to me. But I went along to see it, and it's probably one of the best things that I've ever seen. It was done in the round. The acting was superb. I understood it, which I wasn't sure, because the title makes you think that you're not going to. We're so used to seeing things on television, going to plays that we're used to, names that we're used to, that to actually offer something like that is brave.
I did behave myself, didn't I, my darling? As in a dream, I walked through the crowd. As in a dream, I heard the shoutings of the fireworks, for the flowers they threw at us. We weren't spared one phrase of that endless dreary address. And then we got into our carriage, and here we are at last. No longer a king and queen, but a husband and wife, alone and in love. I can hardly believe it.
So the plays we had range from plays that are famous, and then the other end is some ones which were actually written for the festival. Stash and Peter Beck wrote Hamlet, The Undiscovered Country, which is actually one of my favourites, because what happened was somehow the way they did it, they were kind of stirring everything around in the pot, but there were lots of open spaces in it, and the actors really took advantage of that, and there were some wonderful performances in that.
Well, one of our best years for doing unexpected things was 2012, which is only the second numbered festival, and 2012 involved not only writing a sequel to Hamlet, which you can call us pretentious if you like. I don't mind that too much, but as you may, if you've seen Hamlet, you know that everyone at the end ends up dead. So writing a sequel is not easy, but we did one anyway. It takes place in a sort of semi-Buddhist limbo afterlife, if you must know.
Actually, the initial conversation between Stash and I was our love of Shakespeare's Hamlet. You know, it's a pretty damn perfect piece of writing, and it's got lots in it for actors. It's a very exciting piece of work, and so we started to think about what might happen at the end of that scene where Fortinbras arrives and the characters are killed off, pretty much all of them. What might happen if those characters came back to life? What would they be doing now? What would the tensions be? What would the relationships be between them? Would they have learnt anything from the past? from all the fallout from the original play. And we just started to play with ideas and started a bit of writing and, went away and wrote bits and came back together and talked to Peter Barrow, who was part of the editing process. We took the big plunge to stage a sort of sequel to Hamlet, which, it did seem like a crazy project, but, great fun, immense fun to have a go at.
Let us pray for this woman's soul.
Pray you, sir, who is this lady you come to bury?
A gentlewoman, sir, with noble birth, a queen, they say. Did you know her, sir?
Yes. I knew her well. How did she die?
In her sleep, they say, sir.
I shall weep for you, mother. And then some more. She was not long in this world. She could never rest. Look what world we have wrought here. This world of shadows too much for her beating heart. See how we fail. So much a mother, so much a wife, so loving, so kind. For those that remain, may their conscience cry out in pain for what they bear. For you, my sweet mother, I pray that you are at peace now.
And it's great to be working on a piece of theatre that you love, with all those fantastic ideas that Shakespeare had, right from the bottom up, creating sets, talking about costumes and, the writing through to performing and, the final product on stage. And then we've got the audience for a Q&A and so it goes on. And the reaction is really interesting because some people said, we get it, how interesting, why not? I think Shakespeare would have approved. And some people did the sort of purist, how dare you? Well, they're actors, plays. I think they're there for us to, make something from them, to enjoy them, to play with them, etc. And that's kind of what we did, really.
The big returning feature in Hamlet, the Undiscovered Country, is that they need to keep heading towards the light, towards another life. So this is kind of a middle life where you go, but you stay there if you kill or if you help someone commit murder. So even if you're part of it, you're destined to stay in this Middle Earth forever. So Yorick and other people around Hamlet say, come on, you've got to move on, you've got to forgive and live and let go. So in the end, he does decide to move on and leave. But before this happens, Laertes turns up, and Laertes actually sets about killing Hamlet's father for Hamlet. So it's pretty screwed up behaviour going on and pretty wild and dramatic stuff. We also meet Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as well, and all the characters who died basically turn up again, as well as some new ones. There's magic in it in Yorick's house, Mr. and Mrs. Yorick's house. There's gentleness and kindness and great creativity there for actors to be able to get involved with. And in the end, Hamlet takes a series of people and moves with Ophelia on to the new life and a better life, because he's decided not to kill again and Claudius was killed by Laertes, and so therefore Claudius stays behind in this Middle Earth forever. Hamlet escapes, and pray God he has a good life at last. And that should be the end of the second story. We're not planning a sequel. That is it, put to bed. Hamlet, the undiscovered country. After today, after tomorrow, after life, the rest is not silence.
So what we go for is what's known as an ensemble acting, which is everybody is emphasized in the cast, all of them, from the bit players with one line or no line, up to the ones who have to memorize half the play, and everybody in between. Because if you don't do that, it does show, and you get a lopsided emphasis on one or two of the main characters, and all the others are kind of left to their own devices. And some of them might do a good job of it, and some of them aren't. So it's like the stars are over-directed and everybody else is under-directed, if you see what I mean. So the thing is to direct everybody, and Stash is usually the director, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Yeah. So you get everybody playing together. It becomes a real team effort, rather than a couple of stars and the also-rans. And I think that's the best way to do any play. It can be done with stars sometimes, if the star's ego is not too big, and if the director isn't afraid of the star, or is not sycophantic toward the star, then it can be done. Ensemble with stars and everybody. Since we have no stars, that does make it rather easier.
The great thing about this festival is that everybody is on one level. There's no egos here. There's no people, floating around thinking they're the bee's knees. There's none of that at all. Everybody is completely the same. Everyone down to doing the makeup, everyone down to helping with the tickets downstairs, to the main characters on stage.
Lizzie, it's as lonely as dying out here. Will you come with me?
Starbuck!
I'm talking to you, Lizzie. Come on. Lizzie, don't go!
What did you say?
I said don't go.
What did I do?
Hurry, Lizzie, please.
Pop, what did I do?
Whatever you do, remember you're being asked. You don't never have to go through life alone without being asked.
I'm sure asking, Lizzie. You are beautiful now, but if you come with me, you will light up the whole world.
Oh, don't say that.
You won't be Lizzie no more. You'll be Melisande.
Oh, Starbuck. You said the wrong thing.
Melisande? What the hell does that mean? Her name's Lizzie Curran. It's not good enough. Not for her. Yeah, well, it's good enough for me. Lizzie, come on, please.
No, I've got to be Lizzie. Melisande's a name for one night, but Lizzie can do me my whole life long.
Well, with our central productions, because to my mind, it's always the central thing, because I'm always in it, and it takes up so much of our time. The main house play, as we call it, is usually, it turns out to be a play that Stash has wanted to do, either because he's had a go at it before and wants to do it properly this time, or it's a play that somebody else's that he's seen that wasn't done well, and we figure we can do better, which I think we actually can, and I do not think that is mere boasting. Yeah, so it's a play that we, whether it's well known or not, I think a play that and most of them aren't well known, particularly. Night of the Iguana is not one of Tennessee Williams' better known plays, or Melvin Bragg is not known as a playwright. He only wrote one, and we did it better than Chichester.
For me, the most exciting part of putting on a show is the rehearsals, actually, and making sure that everybody is in tune with each other right the way through the rehearsal process, if possible, all the way up to the night before we go in. So we're working with people who could be at the National Theatre I could have been at the National Theatre, Peter could have been, Rebecca could have been, all the people who we work with regularly, Rebecca Aldred, Rebecca Chapman, Jess Taylor, all these people who we work with, Chris, Neil Orker, all these people we work with many times, Adam Edwards, lots of actors who've passed through with us, are as good as it gets. So as an artistic director of a project like this, it fills me with joy and pride to work with these people who are no better if they were getting 10 grand a week working at the National. No, they're not. And having said that, we've worked with, if you look behind me here, we've got Louis Hillier, who is a National Theatre actor, and he's worked with us when he was in the Melvyn Bragg play, which we did in 2016. Well, he'd just done something at the National, he's just been in the Christine Keeler thing on telly. He's a proper professional actor, but he brought to our little production of Melvyn Bragg's King Lear in New York, he brought to us a real commitment and energy.
Right, so I played Robert in King Lear in New York, Melvyn Bragg's King Lear in New York about 6 years ago. Wonderful play. The reason it's a wonderful play, it was so easy to read, it was so effortless to perform. Every bit of dialogue made sense, every bit of dialogue came out as if it was the next thing you wanted to say. Beautifully written. Wonderful cast here in the Hostry. Lovely to be here in Norwich working with local actors, which is where I'm from. I don't normally work around here. I remember Melvyn came to see it on the last night, and, as you're saying his lines, you suddenly see him in the audience and think, there he is. He loved it. He was very complimentary about it, so it was a great evening all round and a great fun thing to do.
Stuart! A truly good man, one of those aliens, good people. A man who wanted a little bar downtown and got it and sold clean drink and didn't cheat his customers and somehow managed to cope with the mobs and the mean bastards and all the detritus of Manhattan and made
the best whiskey sour
on the planet. Death got him all the same. He's closing in on us all.
This is the 10th year of the Hostry, and festivals like this are very important. It gives someone like me an opportunity who normally works in London in the professional theatre to work with local actors and to, we all get together and we're all working as if we're one, and it's brilliant to do that. And these festivals underpin the whole of theatre that goes on around the country. They are vital to support that world, and if they didn't exist, I don't know how, particularly in the climate we're in at the moment, theatre is ever going to come back. Because it is going to come back from events like this, and we're going to have to work up from events like this, because the rest has gone at the moment, and these things are vital. So it was a wonderful time, great play. Thank you, Melvyn.
Our central production every year is always fascinating to direct, which I've directed most of them over the 10 years. And the thing that I am absolutely passionate about, and have learned so much about it, is the readiness is all. Rehearsing almost to the point where the actors are thinking, we're ready, we're cooked, we're more than cooked, we're ready, give us the audience. And I'm always determined to make sure that the cake is really beautifully cooked, and we're all the ducks are in a row, we're all doing our thing, all the departments have talked to each other properly. We were joined this year by Eleanor Hicks as assistant director, and Eleanor's just a superstar, as well as acting on stage. She's made life a lot easier for me, being so supportive with getting the whole project together for the central production. And Millie Jupp joined us. She joined us for the first time this year. She played the wife of the music critic in the play, an extraordinary actress and a professional opera singer as well. So when it came to the end of Act 1, there she was, singing this incredible aria, and just did it beautifully. Then we've had 3 Beethovens in 1 year. Our lead character of Beethoven and Beethoven's 10th by Peter Ustinov was going to be one actor at the beginning of the year. He had to drop out through work. The next person who was going to play it had to drop out through to family commitments. And then Rebecca said to me, who runs Total Ensemble at one of our signature projects, she said, I think we need to get in touch with Louis Hillier, who played our lead in 2016. And within a day, Louis had come back on board and was playing Beethoven with less than a month to learn a massive lead role. At the end of it, he said to me, yeah, you were right. I actually really love that play, because he hadn't really got any time to learn it. So he was learning it and getting to know it very, very quickly. But because we were good to go, rehearsed, ready, there was no drama. The drama was on stage, not off stage. And what I've learned as a director in the last 10 years,
directing most of the central productions, is the readiness is all. It's everything. And to get a wonderful team behind us each year is as important for me, what happens on stage as off stage. So everyone gets cast. There's a casting moment going on all the time.
What we do with the plays is we go by the text. We don't go by reputation or by reviews, because they're so often so misleading. Read what's actually there, which principally means what the characters are like. Do you care about the characters? Are they plausible? Are they likable? Or can you identify with them whether they're likable or not?
For me, it's as important for one singular story to improve, i.e. one individual. And that is particularly satisfying with Total Ensemble. You see the stories of individuals developing through the work with Rebecca and what she does. That for me is important as a statistic of 3,000 people seeing a project in 1 week. So for me, one person's life-changing light bulb moment or a consistent involvement with a project is as important as the very impressive cake figures that happen with grown-up projects. So I think we are grown up, but if I had a wish list, I hope that we never have to grow up fully.
Total Ensemble for me has been an inspirational beginning to a new career of life. It has given me not only the power to go out more, but also the power in believing the fact of things I do will contrast sort of emotions that will help me and be able for me to do more things, like performing, dancing, believing in stuff that I haven't believed in before. This is a strange. This person is a stranger. I'm not you. I'm not you. I'm not you.
I first joined Total Ensemble in 2011 after Stash Kirkbride saw me getting out of my wheelchair in a cafe. I'd never done any inclusive physical theatre before, and though I'd done a bit of drama, it wasn't really on my radar anymore. But I'll never forget my first session at Total Ensemble. There was this energy in the room that just drew me in, and I was so impressed with how far from charity it was. It was literally everybody on an equal playing field making amazing work together. I will always think of it as one of the best things I've ever done. I hope to return to it, and it was life-changing for me.
Okay, can we see the forum? Okay, ready? So there's your forum. Now that's your cue, and the music, of course.
The other one I really enjoyed was Boy in the Lighthouse. For many of us, it brings tears to our eyes, and we don't even know why. Something very human about it. And I've seen very sober people sitting there and suddenly they're like this in the middle of a performance, and I think it's got them. They're really feeling it.
Total Ensemble is great for me because it is truly inclusive theatre. We work so well together. Everybody has the opportunity to learn from each other and be part of something that we create together. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy being with others. I enjoy creating. We've seen people grow from this to quite mature adults through it. So and they have the opportunity to develop in different ways, through writing, through performing, through bringing their ideas to it. So it's a great thing to be involved in.
And as an observer, I mean, I've watched most of the, if not all of the things that Total have done, and
I just find them really, really moving. I find them really, really sort of exciting. I find them inspiring. So all these things, and I did have some music at one year. Yeah, I did compose something which was used, which is just a great thing for me as well, because I've watched it, and to have something which was included in really felt that we felt good, and he felt that I was part of it. So yeah.
It's an extraordinary concept, the physical theatre of Total Ensemble. You get to work with incredible diverse people, people who, again, like the main productions, people who've never performed before, and people who are also very experienced. And it's a very different form of acting. I was a little bit out of my comfort zone working for Total Ensemble, because I trained as an actor at Central and did the sort of conventional acting. But Total Ensemble is very different, and you kind of have to use your instincts and move, and it was kind of, scary, but then you just have to let that go, let the scariness go, and just go with the flow. And it's so rewarding at the end of it. And it's a great way of bonding with people who you in normal life you wouldn't not necessarily have come into contact with at all. And it's such a rewarding project to do and to work on.
When I first heard about Chicken Shed, it's been probably 10 years ago or more, it didn't sound plausible to me. I didn't think they could do it. All these people, some of them able-bodied, some of them utterly unable-bodied, to the point where surely they can't actually pull off a proper dramatic production with a spread of cast like that. But then I saw it, and I thought, good heavens, you can do it. You just got to do it right. And that's, I guess, Chicken Shed taught itself that, and Chicken Shed taught Rebecca Chapman how to do it, and she picked it up and ran with it. Yes, and now she's showing other people how to do it. It takes infinite patience as well as great dedication.
Something that Hostry Festival offers that nobody else offers. They're a most amazing group. Rebecca is incredible, and she's also a brilliant dancer in her own right, but also inspiring these young people. So I've been very happy to try and support them right from the word go. And if you think about it, this was 10 years ago. Not easy to start this up, but it's grown and grown, and they are prepared to push the boundaries. And that's something that I think is to be admired, is to be applauded.
Come on, all too much. It's all too good. You're trying to be too good. Right, Totals. Can you go to your arch of the forum, please? Thank you. Yeah, the end position of your... Yeah, good question, Maddie. Can I just say, you need to... This is way too far forward for my money. Somehow this arch needs to happen more back. Yeah. Because we've got this shape now. Yeah. And you're going to, when Annie and Hugh do their scene, just move quite happily. You don't try not to be noticed.
Rebecca is just a wonderful human being who just manages, however she does it, to draw the best out of everybody. She's so observant. She keys into people's strengths, and she encourages people to play whatever part is possible for them in whatever way they can. And she's great fun to work with as well. But she's focused, and she makes for sure that whoever is in the cast of Total is focused and gives their very best that they can.
But everybody contributes, don't they?
Yeah,
they
do.
And that is the key to it, I think. Everybody contributes, and everybody's valued. And that, for me, is the major thing, really, for it.
The festival has a really wonderful philosophy of welcoming people in, and I guess sort of like placements, really, with the festival. So people can come and volunteer to give out a program. We don't sell programs, we give them out. They're all built into the tickets. Another very wonderful thing, thanks to Peter's generosity. But we work with people who volunteer for one day, for 1 week, for 1 month, for a year plus. So nothing satisfies Peter and myself more than to see people develop with us, get something out of it, and often, sadly, move on to other and better things, or bigger things, or paid work.
The Hostry just provides lots of opportunities from anybody from the age of 18 upwards to volunteer in whatever way they'd like to help or gain experience.
The opportunities are really varied, so you can set things up front of house, take the chocolates around, the Booja chocolate, which is always a great favourite of mine.
And it's never too late, so if there's anybody out there who fancies a bit of volunteering at the Hostry Festival this year, then do get in touch, because we welcome anybody who shows an interest, and it's a great thing to be involved in.
Come and join us.
I love the environment. I mean, the Hostry is a lovely place to work in. It's a very unusual place to work in as well, having volunteered for other theatres. It's been given the opportunity by Stash and by Peter to actually experience this and to meet people that I wouldn't ordinarily meet with in my everyday life, and sort of formed friendships, lasting friendships, as well as putting on and seeing fabulous shows and productions.
For me, the Hostry Festival has been such a pleasure to work with. I've worked with Stash and Peter for about the last 5-6 years, producing the brochures with them, working on the individual event programmes, and also I'm the secretary as well. So I'm in the annual committee, taking part, contributing to various different things as far as the whole event programme is concerned. And it's just such a wonderful community to be a part of. Every single event that I attend, I meet so many wonderful people, whether it's the volunteers, whether it's, award winners at the, as I say, I've just learnt so much from it. It's a real rich opportunity. And I definitely recommend it if you're interested in doing something philanthropic or getting involved with something new. The Hostry Festival is definitely something that you should do.
As you will have noticed, you will have been stashed in the past, or else you wouldn't be here. He has this huge ability to schmooze almost anybody into doing almost anything. So they think it's their decision. That sort of thing. Well, it is their decision, but he facilitates other people's decisions remarkably well. I've never really seen anything like it, and there can't be many people like that, like him, but that's what happens. So if we didn't do that, I don't know how we do the festival. A very good point is that we have no bureaucracy. He and I and Rebecca are the bureaucracy. So we just meet or text each other and say, does this sound like a good idea? And no, or yes, and say, okay, what do we do about it? So decisions can be made just kind of literally like that. It takes, so there's no endless calling of meetings and meetings about the meetings and so on. It's just, we decide yes or no, and then if yes, figure out how to proceed.
It's always a real pleasure to work with Stash as well. He has such an enthusiasm and a passion for the arts. He's just fantastic. And what I really am grateful for is that he's introduced me to some fantastic people that I've gone on to work with. And I think he gets a real buzz out of connecting people and helping the arts develop. And that's a real special talent to have.
So for me, as a project initiator, it wasn't by design. It was by a need to express and to be in plays. And much like with Peter says, he began the festival so he can be in the play. Well, I began projects in London in order to be in plays. And often I was told by producers I was working with, this production is going to be great. Now all we've got to do is find someone to play the part you want to play who's famous, and we'll have a hit on our hands. That has been told to me so often as an actor. Even if I'm producing something or co-producing or bringing money to the table, not my money, investors' money, people's money, who I meet in a restaurant and I go in there for half an hour. This happened in London, in Islington. We were filling out lots of application forms, funding forms with people to make a documentary in London about the King's Head Theatre. And there were a lot of people who had graduated from universities and things, and they were all doing the right thing, filling out forms. And I said, I'm going to go down and meet some people locally in business. And the first restaurant I came into, I went into a kitchen with the owner, and he showed me around. He literally flipped the burgers and showed me how he's made money over the years. I left that meeting with 17 grand for the project, and we went back to him for another 23 6 months later. And bless his heart, he enabled us to make a documentary about someone who's since left this planet and who I adored. He was my favourite director, and he taught me a lot about what I'm now imparting to actors who are sweet enough to work with me and with the festival.
The other wonderful thing about the Hostry Festival is Stash, with his connections. He not only brings in new people and the incredible volunteers who are so loyal, he has the most wonderful patrons involved. I mean, from big stars like Hayley Mills, and it's just amazing how he's kind of created this fantastic festival, which just goes on year after year, and it's just so brilliant and a privilege to be involved in every year. It really is.
I love the fact that the Hostry Festival involves so many different art forms and is as inclusive as it is. That fits very well with us as a school. We're always interested in providing cultural opportunities for our pupils and for our wider community. So we've been delighted to be involved with Stash and with the Hostry Festival over so many years. It's been a particular thrill to host Total Ensemble for rehearsals and for performance. And as a school, we've got a number of plenary spaces that have been used both for performances and for rehearsals over the years. We have very much enjoyed our involvement so far, and we look forward to many more years of collaboration.
The wonderful thing about the Hostry Festival is that, apart from the fact that it is unique, is that they offer something that you can't get anywhere else. When Stash said he was going to start up a Hostry Festival, I must admit I thought this is going to be a tough one, because there are lots of theatres, there are companies in Norwich, and to try and work with them, not necessarily compete with them, but work with them, was a tall order. But I did think that if anybody could do it, Stash could do it, because I've never known anybody so persuasive. And I mean that in a nice way, I think.
I think what we do well is we don't necessarily do things normally. We don't second guess where the funding's coming from. We don't try to begin something in order to gain funding, in order to... There's a lot of projects that have to do this, and I take my cap off to them. Not that you'll see that happen very often, but I do take my cap off to them, to people who are grown up enough to be able to write funding bids and to do all the stuff that I don't do very well. I'm very good at meeting people for coffee. I'm very good at having what I call creative coffee, making a decision with... I like meeting people who can make decisions. I very rarely meet people here. I meet people who are up there, who can make the decisions. Or if I'm meeting people who are at this level, I say to them, thank you so much for the meeting, but can you introduce me to the person who can make the decisions? I very rarely engage with projects that aren't based in Norfolk, because if somebody has to make a decision, like I wouldn't go to, I don't know, Cafe Uno or Starbucks and say, would you like to sponsor an award or part of the festival? Because they can't make the decision. So if the decision's being made by someone you're never going to meet in Scotland, it's not going to work. But like with Booja Booja, who we've been involved with Total Ensemble, is sponsoring Total for, I think, at least 6 or 7 years. I know the guy who owns it. I know the guy who creates the ice cream. I know the guy who creates the flavours of the ice cream. So he's therefore able to say yes straight away. And that's the same with our media partners. That's the same with everybody that we've engaged with. Any project can only have the tone that is set from the top of the pile. So the top of the pile is Peter Barrow. So the tone of the festival is playful, instinctive, kind, generous and welcoming, all because of him. I love Peter Barrow because I've known him for a quarter of a century. I trust him, he trusts me. He trusts me to get very good value and convince people to do things for nothing day in, day out, or for very little money. And that's important because he knows that he's getting good value for me. And Peter and I have used this expression, which is very unpopular. How do we use each other? Are we using each other well? Yes, Peter and I used each other way before we did anything in the arts, because we would, I don't know, if we had to pick each other up, we'd be there 10 minutes early, or whatever. If it was raining, we'd go and pick each other up, or he'd help me paint a fence in the garden or something. The practical things Peter and I did before the Hostry Festival existed. So I think what we do very well is set the tone. And we set the tone of generosity and encouragement and failure. So for me, failure, my late father taught me, you must fail at least 5 times a week terribly, because through failure we learn. And I'm the first to put my hands up and say failed. I only decided to take myself on a dyslexia course to find out if I was dyslexic, because I interviewed Susan Hampshire last year, and it turns out I am dyslexic. So there's lots of things I've been failing at over the years and didn't know why. I now know why, because I'm dyslexic. I think in the 9 to 5 in Civvy Street, as I refer it, outside of the arts, in normal jobs, people are not encouraged to fail, and people talk to each other through emails. If I want to get anything done, I do not email. I email to confirm a date, and that's it. And if you want to talk creatively, get on the phone to me and let's talk or let's meet. Because face-to-face is the only way I think you can create a deal.
And just one thing in general to say about the festival is that it seems to be very supportive of the people who go there. I felt very supported. The people I spoke to in the various areas felt that they were well looked after, well supported, well thought of, celebrated. And so they should be. The arts are what we're good at. The arts is what people remember in a few hundred years' time. The arts have it, and the arts in Norwich are doing very well indeed.
I do want to pay homage to all the people who support us. Philanthropy, for me, is a very, very unsung aspect of the arts in this country. Any project I've been involved with has had philanthropy at its heart, and here we are, Hostry Festival, 10th year, Peter Barrow, one of the best philanthropists, probably the best I've ever known, because generosity without restriction is very rare. You get restricted funding from people, and that's great, but you get told how to create, when to create, and what to create about, often. We don't do that to each other because there is a trust, and the trusts we work with and the charities we work with who support us as well also give without restrictive funding, because that for me is key. I won't give up the joy of the freedom to be able to create from the off. And I think people who can do that and who are clever enough to do that, to do it the other way round, to get the money first and then create and then spend 6 months afterwards saying what it was like, that's great, but it's just not me. I just can't do it. And I think it's like somebody who can't read music. I can still play piano, but I can't read the music. So I think it is probably a block. Maybe it's the dyslexia. I don't know what it is. But for me, it's inherent. It's deep. I can't sit down at a desk for a year beforehand and do fundraising. I just can't. And maybe that's why. Maybe our biggest faults are also our trademark. I think the trademark on this festival is people know if they want to get involved, they've got to come and meet me for a coffee. I report back to Peter. Peter and I say, yes, it's going to work, or it isn't, and it's done. And that I love.
And apart from anything else, this shows the impact that one person can have. I mean, Peter is a philanthropist and helps it keep it going, or perhaps is principally the person who keeps it going, and is an actor in it. He acts well in it. I think there are very few people like that. It's a 19th century tradition. The actor-manager really came, Olivia was still doing it, so it's 20th century tradition as well.
And I'm not in the best of health either. This darn leg no longer works. Not as a proper leg should, at least. It's been this way since my stroke, as you will undoubtedly have noticed, but we're far too polite to comment on. So now I lean on most things to get around. My stick, the banister, the back of chairs, but not my fellow men. I never lean on them, I hope, and never will.
So I met Peter Barrow probably at the same time I met Stash. Come and meet my crazy Canadian friend. And he's quite a character. He's got a big heart, he's got a real love of the arts, and he very, very quickly said, yes, I want to support back, putting on a play, putting on a festival, creating, something for the local community. And I think over the years, Stash and I put all sorts of ideas to him. Most of which he probably said, don't be ridiculous, go away. But, a few of them he said yes to. And very glad he did, because he enabled us to be able to play, to create, to perform, to put things on stage for people to enjoy, get involved with. Because in a way, what you see on stage is just a microcosm of what goes on behind stage, what goes on before you put the production on the stage. It's just a tiny proportion of it. So I guess Peter has been the enabler of all of those people to get involved with theatre making, with putting on artistic events and things. You know, he may not know it, but he sort of, you know, shrugs his shoulders and sort of says, "Oh, have I really? You know, oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay, if you say so." But I think deep down he's very proud of what he's achieved.
Peter has allowed me to flourish as a creative in ways that no agent, no drama school, no one since my late mother has allowed me to do. My mother supported me for 25 years as a struggling actor. My father encouraged me for 10 years before that. So since they've both passed away, Peter has, I guess, replaced that ability to be able to allow. But he ain't no father figure. He's a brother, and he's an arts brother. He's a there he is on the side. Peter for me he's not a father figure. He's a brother in the creative arts for me, and a dear friend, and I know that has an effect on everything we do. There's a gentleness about Peter that I really like, but he's nobody's fool. He's extremely astute. He's financially very clever. I know I need to work well with him, but not for him. A very, very clever American Jewish guy who knew my mother for years and knew the family before he passed away, said to me before he died, he said, "2 things, kid. You certainly know how to put on a show." And the second thing he said to me was, "Stop saying thank you, kid. You don't need to be so grateful." And I think it's true. In my 10th year of being artistic director of this thing, I'm no longer grateful to Peter or anyone else, because I know we've delivered really, really good work. I know that we're listening to criticism. I know that we're listening to praise. I know that we don't listen to reviews because it's only one person's opinion. I know that we listen to, do the audiences come back? How do they feel? What's the buzz? Are we having a nice time? Are the people who volunteers with us, are the volunteers happy? If they're not, let's find out why. Are we having a good party at the end? Is there a good vibe? And I have to say, I think we hold the best launch events for the arts in Norfolk. It's quite a big statement, but I've been to others, and a lot of them lack joy. So everyone gets a free glass of cheap bubbly. Yes, it's cheap bubbly. We've had about 3 complaints over the years saying it's not real champagne. But, you know, it's free. It's free. And we also have free Booja Booja chocolates, which are the best chocolates in Norfolk. You find them in Harrods and at the Hostry Festival. What can I tell you? They're great. So from that moment on, you get a free program, you get a free glass of bubbly, and you get a free Booja Booja chocolate when you come to a gala event. It's great.
Peter Barrow, what a guy. I mean, his generosity to get this festival up and going is just incredible. Not only that, he's there on stage in the main house production as well, which is great because people can actually see him. He's not just some sort of figure behind the back. He's there, then people can actually see him. And I mean, without his generosity, the festival wouldn't be what it was, you know, because these things cost so much. But not only that, you've also got Stash as well there. And without his ideas and the way that he's grown the festival throughout these 10 years is incredible as well. So there you have it, 2 incredible guys. But Stash has also taught me many things throughout the festival, and things that I've used in life, not just in the festival. The one that stands out for the most is that always have a backup, always have a second or something. And that's really important. Don't rely on that one thing, and that's really is impressive. Great.
This is what makes Britain great. This is what brings people from all over the world to places like Norfolk, because this is what we're world beaters at. We're great at the arts and we're great at creating. So it is so important to see cultural landmark projects like the Hostry Festival coming back. It means something when a festival comes back. We need it to come back. We need to celebrate. We need to create. And then at the end of all of it, we have the Arts Awards. That is an annual celebration of the most fantastic art and culture that we've had in Norfolk. And members of the public can nominate things. It can be an amazing production that you've seen in a great theatre, or you've seen it digitally over the past year. Or it could be something that you and your family stumbled across in a park and thought, this amateur theatre company is amazing, or the singing is amazing. They deserve an award. That's what the Arts Award are all about. And I love it that it celebrates grassroots culture and grassroots creativity. That's what the Arts Awards are about. And for me, that's what the Hostry Festival is all about. It's about create and it's about celebrate.
Every year, and I think it's important that people know this, Peter is not a bottomless pit financially. Peter sits with me in November, and we can't broadcast what he says sometimes when he writes out the checks, but it's close to the line. It's pretty like, oh, you know, and we get there and we scrape through, and come January, February, we're starting to breathe again and everything's okay. Huge generosity, huge commitment from a singular person who is joined now by other people and has been for a number of years, who support us. We're very grateful for them too. And I think they recognise in Peter somebody who is that great angel. And they say this about philanthropists, that they have angel wings. Well, this guy has Boeing angel wings. They're like jumbo jet size. I love what he does, because he enables me and many others to play. He's enabled James Coleman, who we talked about in this documentary, who runs one of our core projects. But even he, with all his family background, appreciated the fact, and does appreciate the fact, that Peter helps facilitate by giving this umbrella of creativity for projects to develop underneath. This year we're starting the African Choir of Norfolk. That's a really exciting new project. We helped initiate Total Ensemble. We initiated the Norfolk Arts Awards, Paint Out Norwich and Paint Out Norfolk. That's all happened. And then these other dozens and dozens and dozens of new commissions. We produce a lot. I'm deeply proud of what we've done so far.
I tend to take it for granted, but again, this reminds me, value your own achievement. It really does happen. None of this is boasting. It kind of surprises me to say that, but it's true. So it is real philanthropy, and it is what people mean by enabling, encouraging and enabling. Quite a big deal, really.
The really nice thing is, obviously, the festival must have started very soon after the Hostry was opened, because I think the official opening was in 2010 when the Queen opened it. So it's really nice to think that this has been going at the same time as the building's been here, and hopefully this building's going to be here for hundreds of years to come. So hopefully the Hostry Festival will go on for hundreds of years. So 10 years is just a tiny little marking point.
And it is with great thanks that you've got to pick out Peter, Stash and Rebecca for their improvisation, their determination, their generosity in making the festival is what it is today. So, it's congratulations Hostry and all the team, and here's to the next 10 years.
I really want to thank everybody who's been involved in the festival for the 10 years. I remain deeply proud of what we've achieved in the first 10 years of the Hostry Festival, and grateful for everyone who's taken part. Nearly everybody works for the love of it. Call that amateur? That word is used so badly over the years. It's got such bad connotations. I love the word amateur. The translation means for the love of it. So people get involved with the festival for the love of it. And thank you, one and all, for taking part in our first decade. Here's to the second decade of creativity here in Norfolk.
Well, I'm sure I'll be one of very many people saying congratulations to you for 10 years, and as well as many other people saying please keep going for at least another 10 years, then we'll have a 20th year celebration, and then we can ask you to keep going for another 20 years after that. It's something you can surely take in your stride.